This is the Big Chat Small Talk podcast for dynamic, engaged minds who love thought-provoking discussions about big life challenges in an approachable way. Join me, Bernie Bennett,
and me, Louise Anderson, to challenge your own perspective, to share insights and wisdom on navigating life's demands. Let us have a big chat about important issues in a small talk way.
In this episode, we'll talk about the narcissist. When a toxic person can no longer control you, they will try to control how others see you. They will paint a picture of themselves as being the victim in every situation and make you question truth and reality between your interactions, whilst they seek to boost their ego and perception of self in public. While it can be frightening to be the target of their gaslighting, I live in the belief that what is done in the dark will always come to light.
I like.
Oh dear.
Well, first of all, let's start with Google's definition of narcissist.
Okay,
Let's start with that one. So, a person who has unreasonable high sense of their own importance. They need to seek a lot of attention and want people to admire them. They lack the ability to understand or care about the feelings of others. Interesting.
I like that, actually.
That's the definition according to Google. And also, I think we should also caveat here that we're not advocating that we have any kind of specialist knowledge of narcissists, or shall I say, qualified doctors or psychiatrists.
No,
we're just saying,
talking about it from the fun perspective.
From the fun perspective, yes. So we just want to clear that up for everybody. But I would say for me, even in the corporate world, there's a lot of narcissism, because if we look at the kind of traits that I suppose we associate with them, they are the ones that are they want to get things done, right. And they're going to want, and they want success. And there's a certain type of personality that is associated with that. And I am of the belief that we all potentially have narcissistic traits.
Yeah, this is where we split. No, we don't all.
I mean, because there's something instinctive within us to drive the ego, to survive, to want to get ahead, to want to do well. But I think we
don't all have egos though, Lou. Honestly, okay. That drive of an ego that you're saying that everybody has the one. You have introverts that are quite happy to have their ego, sit in bed all day long. And not that, that drive to be the most powerful, the most liked, just placing themselves in the center of everything, which I think that's where I see a narcissist sitting.
But it is a spectrum, though. I think you're describing. Yeah. I think there's a spectrum. I really do. Everybody has an ego, whether it's a big ego or a small ego, a fragile ego or a strong ego. We all have an ego. It's how you use it, and it's how you want to feed it. That's when you start seeing the difference between somebody who is being a narcissist in a more darker way to somebody just trying to survive or achieve, or at least feel heard.
Okay, but that doesn't make them a narcissist, right? I think you can pinpoint them. I think they're just completely surrounded by negativity. I don't really think that you're going to find a really nice person that you can say, that person's a narcissist. When you tell me that it's a range, I'm like, come on, girl. This is not a range.
I think sometimes those really nice people are the narcissists. They're hiding behind their mask.
But they can't hide for long. And that's what makes them a narcissist. But you do find nice people genuinely.
Yes, you do.
Okay.
And definitely.
So now you come around to my way of thinking.
And we're nice people. Yeah. No, you do. No, it's true. It's very true. But I think if I use some kind of examples of my experiences with, again, like I said, I'm not qualified to diagnose anybody with narcissism, but how I felt based on being treated or what I saw, it kind of like those kind of alarm bells went off in my head. Yeah. So tapping a little bit into the dating, there are some nice people out there too, but I did pick up on some guys out there that showed really strong narcissistic traits. Okay. And as you're going through the motions, as you do, the telephone calls, the texts, the video calls, maybe the coffee dates or something, one particular person, not naming any names, it felt like I was dating somebody with multiple personality disorder.
Right.
Because in our earlier conversations, when you talk about, your favorite colors, your favorite films, what you like to do, he mentioned one film, which I know I liked, and we talked about it at great length, and he was really enthusiastic about it. And then literally 2 to 3 months later, his favourite film had changed to something else.
Right.
And I was like, what is this guy all about? And he was adamant, no, I didn't say that was my favourite film. This is my favourite film.
That's the gaslighting.
Yes.
That's the bit that I cannot get my head wrapped around.
Yes.
They really make you feel like you are imagining it.
Yes.
No, this is not the reality.
Yes. It is so true. And just loads of little other things as well. Like if I had an opinion about something, no, that's not the opinion. This is how it is. And you get this whole encyclopedia and spill. I was thinking, hang on a second. I'm an intelligent woman. I'd like to think of myself. I have my own mind, and it's ever so subtle. And can you imagine when you're having to deal with somebody with that over a long period of time, incrementally trying to break you down?
How long were you in that relationship?
Oh, it wasn't even a relationship. It was just like a few months of like, oh my God, dating disaster, not happening again. But I'm just saying, it's just an example of what there are people out there
staying in these long term. I don't know how, but
how do you do it? And if you think being in the corporate world with high flyers that have those traits, they are married. There are people that stay with them. I'm not naming any names.
The ones I know anyway.
Stick it out. They stay with them. How do you manage to do it? It's impossible. But going back to my argument again, I do think there is elements of narcissism in all of us as just, as human beings trying to get through life, trying to survive, being brave, having to sometimes assert the ego. We all have that capability within us, but like I said, it's all on a spectrum.
And I'm not feeling that
You're
spectrum
not feeling
because
that spectrum.
I don't see anything positive about being a narcissist. I just don't see anything good about them. And I do avoid them like the plague whenever I can. Sometimes you have to play footsie for a little bit, but the moment I can get out, I'm out.
Do you think there's any negotiation with a narcissist?
No, because they play with your reality. And that's the bit that really messes with me. Like when you say X is X and they say, oh no, I didn't see it that way. And it's literally mind blowing when you're going, it's black. It is, it looks a little bit grey. Oh my God, it's bloody black.
But isn't that weird as well? Like, do you sometimes think that they know what they're doing?
I do. I do. But when you're looking at them and you're actually interacting with them, the fact that you start to question yourself is because you're going, I don't believe that this person is gaslighting me and believing. They actually appear to believe what they're saying. And it's almost like they're trying to convince you that the reality is not the way that you see it. Mind-blowing.
Yeah.
Absolutely mind-blowing.
So I had a recent conversation with somebody that portrayed fairly narcissistic traits and gaslighting as well, mannerisms. And as I was listening to this person, so they were trying to tell me to reevaluate my reality of how I saw something. And because what I decided to do, I decided to take the emotions out and just really listen and really give them the opportunity to talk. Because that's the thing I've noticed as well with gaslighters, and give them the room to talk and they will hang themselves. Yeah, give them the center and they will hang themselves with their own rope. And as I was listening to somebody telling me that I'm not accountable, that I'm not acknowledging anything, that I've done all of these things.
Yeah.
And I've already explained what I have done, the reasons why I have done it, and this is how it's made me feel or how I've had to make a decision on that basis.
Yeah.
They still didn't acknowledge what they said to me, but focused on everything that I said and did. Oh,
because they blame.
Yeah.
That's the next part. So after gaslighting is you're to blame.
You're to blame.
Yeah, they become a victim.
Yeah.
They become a victim in the whole scenario and you're to blame.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God.
Like, so are you waiting for me to apologise? And I think I've learned as well that when that happens, and I've fallen for it over the years. I've been like, I'm so sorry. We all have, haven't we?
Do really?
Well, we all have if you don't realise it's happening to you, especially if it's happening to you by somebody you trust.
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And then you have to wisen up. And then you have to think to yourself, and I suppose as well, you know, with the way that my mum's raised me, and I suppose you're the same, you know, don't ever be afraid to apologise and do forgive and so on. But I think I've got to a point in my life now, at my stage, where, do you know what? It's not about apologising and it's not about always forgiving.
Yeah.
It's actually about making a decision for yourself. And sometimes you just have to say, do you know what? I've recognised what you're doing here. And you're creating a situation that you're trying to get me to apologise in. Not going to happen.
So then we come on to the most effective way of dealing with a narcissist, because they generally can't survive where the victim ignores them, because, you know, there's no exactly feed. I like that. So the impacts of, once you've decided you are actually being attacked by a narcissist, what are your methods for avoiding them or addressing the situation? Because obviously there's going to be an emotional impact that's far outreaching after you've put them to bed.
Well, it depends on what kind of place or position that person has in your life. You know, they could be in your family. They could have been within your own inner circle, you know. So I think the way you have to deal with it is you base each case on its own merit. If it's somebody that's just an associate or somebody that is just working within my professional capacity, it's one of those things you know, as long as you know your boundaries, you know what you're not going to tolerate.
Yeah, boundaries are really, really important.
Very important. But you know your boundaries, and so therefore you put them in a category where you know you can manage them, where you know that you can manage them within that situation.
Yeah.
And anything out of that situation, you keep well away. That's the way that I find myself having to deal with people that I feel are trying to feed off me.
Yeah, they're draining, aren't they?
They're draining me, yeah.
The vampires.
Energy vampires, that's it. You heard it here first.
I would also say don't engage with the gaslighting techniques. Allow them to tell the lie and just let it play out, because it will come to light.
It will, and they'll eventually hang themselves. Absolutely.
Yeah. Thanks for listening to the Big Chat Small Talk with Bernie and Louise.
Follow us on Instagram at Big Chat Small Talk.